Chapter 260. The body is too crisp. The rewards on the Longhu list were extremely generous. A first-year dragon had a reward cycle of 3 days. He would receive 4 bottles of level E energy restoration elixir every 3 days when he was still on the rankings. In terms of value, the average daily reward was 6,666 yuans. That was 200,000 a month. Airward worth 200,000. How would be tempted? Who wouldn't be jealous? Zutu's parents both went out to work. The annual income they received was less than 110,000 yuans. As for the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College, as long as they obtained the ranking of a first-year dragon, they would earn 200,000 yuans a month. This was only the reward on the surface. The value of a teacher and other resources were priceless. For example, the dragon and tiger of each year had priority when using the school's public cultivation facilities and equipment. Zutui had already decided that he would risk his life to fight with anyone who dared to snatch the position of the Year 1 dragon from him in the future. 200,000 a month was a huge income for 99% of ordinary families. It was also because of this that the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College only distributed resources for students to cultivate. If they were given cash, many students would probably choose to save a portion of it instead of using it all for cultivation. This was only the reward of being a first-year dragon. Compared to the rankings on the Year 1 Longhu list, the rankings of the Longhu overall rankings in Wuxia Genetic Evolution College were much more valuable. His reward of the energy elixirs was increased by a large level on top of the Year 1 Longhu list. The Dragon of Wuxia on the Longhu overall rankings would obtain 4 bottles of level D energy restoration elixir every 3 days. The Tiger of Wuxia to the 10th place would obtain 3 bottles of level D energy restoration elixir every 3 days. From 11th to 40th place on the Longhu overall rankings, they will obtain 2 bottles of level D energy restoration elixir every 3 days. From the 41st to the 70th place on the Longhu overall rankings, they would receive a bottle of level D energy restoration elixir every 3 days. From the 71st to the 100th place on the Longhu overall rankings, they would receive 5 bottles of level E energy restoration elixir every 3 days, or 1 bottle of level D energy restoration elixir every 6 days. Jealous! Zutui, who had just obtained the 86th place on the Longhu overall rankings, did not hold back his envy for the position of the Dragon of Wuxia. 4 bottles of level D energy restoration elixir every 3 days. Damn it! 2 million a month! If he could be on the rankings for a year, that would be 24 million. That was a fortune that Zutui's family would not be able to see in their lifetime. It was the income that Zutui's parents earned from working hard for 20 years. It was the kind that did not require them to consume food, water, or have any expenses. Of course, the Dragon of Wuxia was worthy of this additional reward. The Wuxia Genetic Evolution College was a place where the geniuses of the various prefectures in the Wuxia sector gathered. It was not easy to stand out and secure the title of the Dragon of Wuxia. However, regardless of whether he could obtain the position of the Dragon of Wuxia in the future or not, Zutui would try to go for it in the future. Zutui looked at the reward for the Dragon of Wuxia, then looked at the reward for being ranked 86th on the Longhu overall rankings. It immediately lost its appeal. He was ranked 86th on the Longhu overall rankings. He would obtain 5 bottles of level E energy restoration elixir every 3 days, or 1 bottle of level D energy restoration elixir every 6 days. If he was on the ranking steadily, it would be worth 250,000 a month. Looking at the ranking reward, Zutui suddenly understood why Kuishi and the others took a long time to challenge the new ranking. This was because it was meaningless to increase one's ranking by 1 or 2 or even 3 to 5 ranks at once. Every 30 ranks was a step up. For example, Kuishi, who was previously ranked 79th on the Longhu overall rankings, had not challenged the rankings. He probably wanted to reach the top 70 of the Longhu overall rankings in one go. Moreover, the most important thing was that he had to be able to defend his position. After his reward for reaching the top 70 increased by a level, if he could not defend for more than 3 days, the ranking he obtained would only be an experience bag for others. If he wanted to win, he had to have the strength to maintain his ranking. Of course, this was Zutuis' rather simple thought. The rewards for Longhu overall rankings and the Year 1 Longhu list were stacked by the school. This way, Zutui would be able to obtain 450,000 yuan's worth of energy restoration elixir in a month as long as he maintained these two rankings. Based on Zutui's current cultivation expenditure, he had managed to solve at least 1/3 of his cultivation expenditure in a month. This was probably the happiest thing for Zutui at the moment. As for the honor, extraterrestrial spots, and other benefits, he was not that happy before he got them. This was a pure material gain. Zutui had gained even more from the 6 battles that he had fought in today's Longhu overall rankings. That's right, a total of 7 people in the school's judging panel had given their opinions on the battle between Zutun and Dailigen. 6 of them had determined that Zutui would be judged as the loser. The reason was basically the same. First of all, if Zhao Soxui, the judge who was on duty, did not interfere, Zutui would be in a life-threatening situation. Even if Dailigen did not attack after he broke his leg, the Sea of Fire and the Fire Snake could still threaten Zutui's life. Secondly, even though Zutui's flying sword had sent Dailigen's leg flying, based on the current situation, even if it could break through Dailigen's flame crystal shield, it would lose its speed and power. It would not be able to pose a fatal threat to Dailigen. Dailigen's head, including his vital organs, were all protected by the flame crystal shield. During this time, even though Wen Xiao had lowered his mind power, because Dailigen was injured, Zutui could no longer pose a fatal threat to Dailigen. This was a fact. Based on the opinions of the specialists above, Ku Qingshan, as the chief referee on duty, would judge that the challenger, Dailigen, had won against the defender, Zutui, in the ranking battle of the 85th place on the Longhu overall rankings. Dailigen was ranked 85th on the Longhu overall rankings. Zutui, who was originally ranked 85th, was ranked 1 place lower. These were the details. Ku Qingshan had not only sent the specialists' opinions to Zutui, but he had also made a public announcement on the display below the Longhu overall rankings. The method was very good. The students accepted it calmly. Zutui also felt that this judgment was very pertinent. In reality, the battle strategy that Zutui had set for himself when he faced Dailigen was quite shameless. He had to end this quickly. If he could not win in a short period of time or cause enough damage to Dailigen, or if Dailigen's attacks were fatal, he would admit defeat on the spot and obtain the protection of the teacher on duty. Zutui would definitely not be able to defeat Dailigen in a tug-of-war if he could not win a quick battle. He had a clear understanding of this. He gained a clearer understanding of his own strength during the 5 wins and 1 loss. He realized his shortcomings. The first point was to cultivate the first level of the Vira Tide Force Field as soon as possible. The first level of the Vira Tide Force Field was just a fan-shaped Vira Tide Force Field, the Vira Shield. However, his defense ability would increase exponentially, especially when it came to the vital points on his upper body. In terms of pure defensive strength, Zutui's current mental shield was slightly weaker than his energy field. It was inferior to the Vira Shield. However, his mental shield was more flexible. The second point was that Zutui had to immediately cultivate the major heavenly cycle genetic chain. Once he mastered the first level of the Vira Tide Force Field, after he mastered the major heavenly cycle genetic chain, he would be able to defend his legs with an energy field. The defensive power of his legs would increase greatly. Zutui's ability to survive on the battlefield would be greatly enhanced. However, he would still be injured if he was attacked again like Dailigen. He would have to cultivate the second level of the Vira Tide Force Field and cultivate the Vira Barrier if he wanted to avoid being injured by similar attacks from Dailigen. At that time, he would truly have the ability to survive on the battlefield. As long as he used the Vira Shield, he could last for dozens of seconds or even a minute in the Sea of Fire. That was the defense aspect. Zutui realized that his biggest problem at the moment was that his attacks were too simple. Currently, the most effective methods of attack were the Alloy Silver Pill, the Flying Sword, and the Mental Whip. There were too few changes. There were no sustainable attacks. For example, Dai Ligen's attack methods like the Sea of Fire, the Fire Snake, the Flame Whip, and the Directional Flame Explosion had already become a system. This was what Zutui lacked at the moment. He would have to form his own attack system if he wanted to increase his ranking on the Longhu overall rankings in the future. Otherwise, even if he succeeded in the challenge, it would be easy for others to target him after they studied his tactics. He would not be able to defend the arena. This was a big problem. While Zutui was thinking about it, he had to find some time to discuss this with his teacher and Zhao Xaxui. Of course, he could not relax in cultivating his mind power. His current goal is to complete the first 3 levels of the Mind Concentration Foundation Forging Technique. Currently, he has activated the 18th genetic base point of the 2nd level. There were still 6 left. He would be able to activate and complete the 2nd level. The 3rd level only had 12 genetic base points. The 4th problem that Zutui concluded was that his current body was too fragile. Even if his survivability on the battlefield would increase greatly because he cultivated the 2nd level of the Vira Tide Force Field and cultivated the Vira Barrier, it would still be a huge problem if his body was too fragile. Once the enemy broke through his defense, a powerful attack would cause Zutui's limbs to be damaged. For example, the broken leg today would greatly affect his combat strength and mobility. Even if the current medical technology had greatly improved and an injury like a broken leg could be healed in half a month. When it came to an emergency, half a month's time was extremely dangerous. In the future, I have to start looking for genetic ability chains that can increase the strength and recovery ability of my body. Zutui set another midterm goal for himself. Yes, the 5th problem. When I have time, I have to strengthen the other 8 unstrengthened reaction-type genetic base points. It should be able to increase the duration of time distortion. The absolute reaction time brought by this ability is very useful in battle. Zutui, who was in the middle of the surgery, fell asleep while he was deep in thought. Perhaps he was tired, or perhaps it was the effects of the anesthetic.